I used to believe I could talk my way out of anything. Words were my currency, my shield, my weapon. If I said the right things, people bent. If I cried at the right moment, they softened. If I looked sad enough, they gave me the benefit of the doubt. That's how it always worked. I thought I was smart, clever, untouchable. But clever only takes you so far before the walls cave in. The first time I realized lies could save me, I was 19. I was failing 2 classes in college because I spent more time at frat parties than in lecture halls. When my parents cornered me about my grades, I panicked. The word just spelled out: depression. Their anger evaporated instantly. My mom hugged me, whispering how proud she was that I admitted it. My dad promised to pay for summer classes. That moment etched into my brain like a rule: if you can't win with the truth, win with pity. By the time I turned 30, I had made a career out of lying. Not professionally. I worked in marketing. But emotionally, in my marriage, in my friendships. I was married to Mark, a steady man with a quiet smile. He was the kind of husband who made dinner when I forgot, who rubbed my back when I complained, who showed up on time for everything. Dependable to a fault. But dependable became boring in my eyes. He wasn't exciting. He wasn't spontaneous. He wasn't dangerous. I craved dangerous. The first affair happened at work. A client, married, silver-haired, with a voice that carried power. He looked at me the way I wanted Mark to look at me. Hungry, impressed, alive. It started with lunches, then late meetings, then hotel rooms. When Mark noticed I was working late 3 nights a week, he asked if everything was okay. I sighed, pressed my fingers to my temples, and said, "I've just been depressed lately." Instantly, his suspicion disappeared. He wrapped me in his arms, kissed my forehead, and whispered, "We'll get through it together." And just like that, my affair had cover. The second affair was sloppier, riskier. A dad from my daughter's school, someone I saw at pickup every day. It started with harmless conversations about weather, then escalated into jokes, late-night texts, and eventually, backseat encounters behind strip malls. It was messy, rushed, but thrilling. I told myself I was reclaiming something I'd lost. My youth, my desirability. I told myself Mark should be grateful I was still sought after. And whenever guilt pricked at me, I smothered it with the same excuse: depression. But the cracks showed. I started slipping at work, missing deadlines, arriving late, forgetting to reply to emails. My boss called me in one morning, concern written across her face. Instead of apologizing, I looked down, let my lip tremble, and whispered, "I've been dealing with depression." She softened immediately, told me to take time off, to care for myself. I left her office with a paid break, and instead of healing, I used the free time to sneak around more. Mark noticed the distance. He'd reach for me in bed, and I'd flinch. He'd ask about my day, and I'd snap. He started asking harder questions. One night, he finally asked, "Are you seeing someone else?" My heart pounded so loud, I was sure he could hear it. But I forced tears, shook my head, and whispered, "No, I've just been so depressed." He hugged me again, believing me, thanking me for being honest. That hug felt like a knife. And then everything unraveled. The married client's wife found our messages. She confronted him. He denied it at first, but eventually, he cut me off to save his marriage. One text: "Don't contact me again." That was it. I went from being his obsession to his liability overnight. I panicked and clung harder to the school dad, but he too started pulling away. His wife was suspicious, watching his every move. He told me it was too risky. He ghosted me for weeks until I finally got the hint. For the first time, I felt abandoned. Not loved, not desired, not special. Just used. Then came the worst blow. Mark's sister came over one afternoon to drop something off. My phone buzzed with a notification while it was on the counter. She glanced at it before I could stop her. A saved thread with the school dad. Her face turned pale. "Does Mark know?" she asked, voice trembling with disgust. I froze. Within hours, she told him everything. That night, Mark confronted me. He didn't scream. He didn't throw things. He just looked at me with this hollow expression I'd never seen before. "How long?" he asked. When I couldn't answer, when I just sat there sobbing without a word, he nodded like he'd expected it. He went to the guest room. The next morning, his clothes were gone. So was our daughter. I thought he'd cool off, that he'd come back after a few days. But instead, I was served divorce and custody papers. His parents backed him completely. They even offered to help with childcare, so he could keep working. Everyone rallied around him. No one came to me. I went to my parents for support. My mom sat across from me at their kitchen table, her face weary. "You've been lying about depression all these years, haven't you?" she asked. I tried to cry, to deny, but she shook her head. "We're done enabling you." My father didn't say a word. He just walked out of the room. For the first time in my life, the word that had always protected me turned to poison. Depression wasn't a shield anymore. It was a curse that revealed who I really was. Days blurred together after that. I stayed in our apartment, surrounded by silence. No footsteps, no laughter, no husband, no child. Just the hum of the refrigerator and the glow of my phone, empty of texts. People at my daughter's school whispered. Other moms turned away. Even friends I thought would understand stopped answering. Meanwhile, Mark thrived. I heard from mutual friends that he was working out, spending more time with our daughter, even dating again. Women noticed him now. Not because he was flashy, but because he was stable, the kind of man who didn't run from responsibility. The kind of man I had dismissed as boring. The kind of man I destroyed. I still had money in my account, but it meant nothing. I sat alone at night scrolling through old photos, wondering how I had thrown it all away for a few cheap thrills and the rush of being wanted. I weaponized depression. I betrayed the one man who actually loved me, and now I am exactly where I deserve to be, alone, with nothing but the echo of my own lies. Mark 1. He has our daughter, a new life, a future. I have regrets. And every night, when the silence presses in too heavy, I finally understand the truth. Words can't save you forever. Eventually, the truth rots through, and when it does, there's no one left to listen.